My parents took the deed to my beach house and handed it to my brother as his wedding gift. He held the reception there like he owned it. At lunch, I smiled and said, I still had one gift left. Mom smirked, your brother always gets what you'll never deserve. Then the front door opened, and an older man walked in holding a sealed folder. My brother went pale. Dad's smile disappeared. The kitchen drawer stuck on the left side the way it always did, and when I pulled it open, the nautical chart was gone. 4 years of the chart sitting right there, Edda's handwriting in soft pencil, her red X mark showing where the blues ran in June, the fold lines gone soft from years of salt air. I checked behind the contact paper. I checked the shelf above the stove. I found it 40 minutes later in a black trash bag in the garage, wedged between a cracked tackle box and a bottle of expired sunscreen. My brother had cleaned. Spencer had driven out the weekend before to prep the beach house for his wedding reception. What he had actually done was throw out anything that did not match the version of the house he wanted to show his bride's family. Edda's tide notes. The coffee mug with the chipped handle that I used every Saturday morning since I bought the place. A box of fishing lures that still smelled like the bait shop on Route 9 where Edda took me when I was 11. He had replaced my things with scented candles and a wicker basket full of decorative rope. The house looked like a rental listing. It did not look like mine. I smoothed it flat on the counter. The pencil marks were faded but readable. Blues here June. Bring sandwiches. And in the bottom corner, in handwriting so small you had to tilt the paper toward the window, Lyle, high tide 4 p.m. She had shown me this lot when I was 14. We were driving back from the bait shop, and she pulled over on the shoulder and pointed through the passenger window at a patch of overgrown scrub between two cottages. That one is for sale, she said. Buy it when you can. She did not say it to my father or to Spencer. She said it to me. I understood why only after she passed. She said it to the one she trusted to keep it. I bought the house 4 years ago for $168,000, $25,000 from Edda's inheritance after she passed, and $13,000 from my own savings. $13,000 does not sound like much until you understand that I saved it over 4 years on a diesel mechanic's pay, skipping every vacation driving the same truck with 180,000 miles on it. Eating packed lunches in the Fleet Depot break room while other guys went to the diner across the road. I work at the county Fleet Depot servicing school buses, ambulances, and the 2 snowplows that sit in the back lot from April to November. I make $54,000 a year. The mortgage is $795 a month. I drive out 2 or 3 weekends a month in the summer, maintain the place myself. Fix what needs fixing with my own tools, because hiring someone to repair what I can repair has never made sense to me. The porch railing I rebuilt in my second summer. The water heater I replaced myself. The screen door I rehung after a nor'easter tore the hinges out. The house is not flashy. 2 bedrooms, 1 bathroom, a kitchen with a window facing the water, and a porch that wraps around the south side. It is the only real asset I own. It is worth more to me than any number on any appraisal because Edda picked it before I was old enough to understand what she was giving me. Dale is 59. Printing press operator, $48,000 a year before the shift reductions. My mother Naomi is 56. Medical billing clerk, $34,000. Spencer is 27, retail assistant manager at a clothing chain, $36,000. The family math always worked the same way, Dale decided. Naomi enforced, Spencer benefited, and I maintained. I maintained the cars, maintained the holidays, maintained the quiet that kept everything running. They called it being dependable. What it actually was, I understood only later, was being too useful to respect. My father Dale called in late June and asked if Spencer could use the beach house for the wedding reception. Spencer was marrying Audrey, a dental hygienist he had been dating for 2 years. Dale's voice was easy on the phone, the way it always was when he wanted something he had already decided he would get. Spencer needs a venue. The beach house would be perfect. Just the reception, nothing crazy. I said yes because I trusted the question. They were my parents. When your father calls and asks for a favor for your brother's wedding, you say yes because you believe the question is the whole story. What I did not know was that the question was a door to a 5-month plan. And saying yes to a reception was the first step in a scheme to take my house. If you are new here, welcome to Family Secret Tales. Hit subscribe so you do not miss what happens when the front door opens. I arrived at the beach house 8 days before the wedding to prep. Clean the gutters, pressure wash the porch, check the water heater, test the breaker box. Standard maintenance. The kind of work I do at the depot every shift, just smaller. I had my toolbox in the truck bed and a cooler with sandwiches and water, and for the first 2 hours, everything felt normal. Just a man taking care of his property. The Wi-Fi was down, and the caterer needed the network name and password for the payment terminal. I picked up the family iPad from the living room shelf. Spencer had left it the weekend before. I opened Safari to find the router login page, and a notification sat at the top of the screen. A group chat. Dale, Spencer, Naomi, and Audrey. I tapped it because I assumed it was reception logistics. Seating charts. Menu confirmations. Table rental pickup times. 5 months of messages. Dale to Spencer, February 14, I will handle Lyle after the reception. He will not make a scene in front of family. Naomi to Audrey, March 3, tell your mother Spencer owns the property. It is handled. Spencer to Dale, March 19, Audrey's dad is asking about the house. What do I say? Dale's reply, tell him it is a family property being passed down. That is true enough. Dale to Spencer, May 2. Got the HELOC approved. $28,000. That covers the caterer, the rentals, the flowers, and the photographer. We will make it back once you are living there rent-free. Spencer to Dale, May 12. I can send you $800 a month from what I save on rent. That covers your HELOC in about 3 years. There it was. 5 months of planning laid out in blue and gray text bubbles. My father had borrowed $28,000 against his own house to pay for the wedding. His repayment plan was to put Spencer in my beach house rent-free so Spencer could send him $800 a month from the rent he was saving. The wedding gift was not generosity. It was a financial transaction using my property as the engine. Dale was not giving Spencer a home. He was using my home to pay himself back. I sat on the porch and read every message twice. 22 minutes. The tide was going out. I could hear it pulling at the sand the way it always does in the early evening when the wind drops and the gulls settle on the pylons near the jetty. I put the iPad back on the shelf, screen down, exactly where Spencer had left it. I did not call Spencer or Dale or Naomi. I walked back to the porch and sat in the chair where Etta used to read the tide tables, and I thought about what a diagnostic code looks like when a school bus engine throws a fault. The computer gives you a number. The number tells you which system failed, but the number does not tell you why. You have to trace the wiring yourself, connector by connector, ground by ground, until you find the one that corroded. My family had been corroding for 5 months, and the fault code had just appeared on a screen I was not supposed to see. I almost called Spencer that night. The phone was in my hand, his name on the screen, my thumb over the green button. But I heard something forming in my head, a thought that did not have words yet. It belonged to Clyde, my coworker at the Fleet Depot, and I had not even talked to him. The instinct was simple. Let them finish building before you show them the foundation is yours. 2 days later, I sat across from Clyde in the break room at the Fleet Depot. Fluorescent light humming above us, coffee from the machine with the dented coin slot. The smell of diesel and floor cleaner that never quite leaves the building no matter how many times the night crew mops. I showed him the screenshot. Dale's message, I will handle Lyle after the reception. Clyde read it. He set down his coffee cup on the metal table and did not react the way I expected. He did not get angry on my behalf. He did not shake his head or swear. He leaned back in the plastic chair and folded his arms and looked at me the way he looks at a wiring harness that someone has already cut into before bringing it to the shop. Let them build the whole stage, he said. Every speaker, every banner, every toast. Then let your lawyer walk in and unplug it. Is that cruel? They planned this for 5 months, Lyle. You found out 2 days ago. Who is cruel? He took a sip of his coffee and set it back on the ring of condensation it had already made on the metal table. Clyde had worked beside me for 6 years. He was the one who showed me how to trace a ground fault on a 40-foot school bus without pulling the entire harness. Patient work. Methodical work. The kind of work where rushing costs you twice. He treated this the same way. Your name is on the deed, not theirs. That is the starting position. Everything they built since February is sitting on your foundation. You do not tear down a building by arguing with the people inside it. You show them who owns the land. That afternoon, I drove to Hammond's office. Hammond is a real estate and civil attorney in the next town over. 58 years old, calm, speaks in full sentences, and charges $275 an hour. I brought the chart in my back pocket the way some people carry a photograph of their children. I did not need it for the meeting. I needed it near me while I sat in a room and talked about the possibility of losing the house it was drawn for. Hammond pulled the county deed records. Public record, available to anyone who asks. The deed was clear, my name, recorded 4 years ago, stamped and filed. No transfer. No quit claim. No addendum. No rider. No lien except my own mortgage. The house was mine in every legal and documented way a house can belong to a person. He found the HELOC through Dale's own emails on the iPad, where Dale had discussed the amount and repayment timeline with Spencer. The HELOC was on Dale's house, not mine. $28,000 against Dale's $185,000 home value. Dale had borrowed against his own property to fund the wedding, and the entire repayment plan depended on Spencer living rent-free in my beach house and sending Dale $800 a month from the money he saved on rent. 20 months to cover the balance if Spencer sent $800 without missing. 35 months at the $420 minimum payment. Dale had done the arithmetic and decided my house was part of his equation without asking me to check his math. Hammond also found something else in the group chat. Naomi had texted Audrey's mother directly in March. She told her Spencer owns coastal property. Audrey's father, based on that representation, had contributed $12,000 toward the wedding. $12,000 given because Naomi told him his daughter was marrying a man who owned a beachfront home. That man owned nothing. The home belonged to his brother. The $12,000 was obtained through a lie that Naomi typed with her own thumbs and sent without hesitation. The math was clean and ugly. Dale's HELOC at $28,000 required $420 a month in payments. Spencer was supposed to save $1,400 a month on rent by living at the beach house for free and send Dale $800 of that savings. In 20 months, the HELOC would be cleared. In the meantime, Dale had also told Audrey's parents that Spencer owned the property, which convinced Audrey's father to contribute $12,000 to the wedding. $12,000 extracted from a man who believed his daughter was marrying a homeowner. The whole structure was a pyramid built on a single lie, that Dale had the authority to give away my house. Hammond prepared a sealed folder over the next 2 days. Inside, a certified copy of the deed with the county recording receipt. Printed screenshots of the group chat messages with dates and timestamps, the Naomi to Audrey's mother text about property ownership, and a draft cease and desist naming Dale, Naomi, Spencer, and Audrey. He put on his reading glasses, clicked his pen, and looked at me across the desk. When do you want me to deliver this? At the reception. After the toasts. When the room has already celebrated the lie. He nodded once. He understood that the truth is heavier when it falls on a room that has already applauded. I almost told Reggie at the rehearsal dinner. Reggie is Dale's brother, an electrician with his own small business, the kind of man who shakes your hand with both of his and means it every time. He had pulled me aside at the church and said, "Good of you to do this for your brother Lyle." He believed Dale's story. At Christmas, Reggie had raised his glass to Spencer's new property. That toast was based on a lie Dale told him face to face, and Reggie did not know it yet. But Hammond's instruction held. Wait, let the room commit to the fiction before you introduce the fact. The wedding day was mid-July. Clear sky, salt in the air, the kind of heat that sticks to your arms before 9 in the morning. The ceremony was at a small white church 15 minutes inland. Spencer and Audrey stood under an arbor of white roses. Dale sat in the first row with Naomi, both of them arranged in the kind of practiced smiles I recognized from years of family photographs, where the composition mattered more than the people in it. I sat in the third row. I shook hands. I said congratulations. I meant none of it, but I delivered it clean. The reception was at the beach house. My beach house. Audrey had hung a banner over the porch railing in white and gold letters, the Spencer and Audrey Beach House. The kitchen drawer where Etta's things used to sit now held cocktail napkins and a corkscrew. The counter where I had smoothed her pencil marks flat 8 days earlier was buried under catering trays and a 3-tier cake with seashell frosting. 40 guests filled the living room and the porch. Rented tables covered in white tablecloths sat where my couch usually went. The bathroom had been stocked with monogrammed hand towels that said S&A. String lights draped from the gutters I had cleaned 6 days ago. A playlist coming through a Bluetooth speaker on the windowsill. Spencer gave a toast. He held his glass of sweet tea and said, "I want to thank my parents for this incredible gift. This house, this view, this life we are starting here." Audrey raised her phone and posted a photo from the porch. Caption, "Our place." 17 likes in the first 4 minutes. Guests congratulated Spencer on the property. A groomsman clapped him on the shoulder and said something about building equity. Audrey's mother told Naomi how lovely it was that the family had such a beautiful place to pass down. Naomi squeezed Audrey's mother's arm, smiled, and said nothing that was true. Dale found me on the porch. Reggie was on the steps 3 feet away, close enough to hear every word. 2 groomsmen leaned against the railing behind us. "I need you to be reasonable about the paperwork, Lyle." "What paperwork?" "The quitclaim. We talked about this." "We did not talk about this. You talked about it to Spencer in a group chat I was not in." Dale stepped closer. His voice dropped, but not enough. Reggie turned his head. The groomsmen stopped their conversation. "You service school buses, Lyle. You come here on weekends. Sit on this porch with a fishing pole and a cooler, and call it a life. Your grandmother left you that money because she watched you eat dinner alone every Sunday for 6 years and felt sorry for you. Your brother has a wife. He has a future. He has people who chose him. You have a 2-bedroom house that sits dark 5 nights a week and a truck that smells like engine grease. I did not take anything from you. I gave something to someone who will actually use it. Sign the paper. Stop pretending this is yours just because your name is on it." Reggie set his glass on the porch step. One of the groomsmen looked at his shoes. The other looked at the ocean like he wanted to be in it. I went inside. Naomi was in the kitchen, refilling a water pitcher. She saw my face and did not ask what Dale had said. She already knew. She smiled the way she smiles when she believes the outcome is settled. "Your brother always gets what you will never deserve. Not because we chose him, because he built something worth giving to. You had 4 years and you did not put a single person inside this house. Not a wife, not a child, not even a dog. You filled it with fishing gear and silence." I set a glass of water on the counter. I turned and walked back to my chair at the table nearest the window. I sat down. I folded my hands in my lap. I checked my phone under the table. 1 text from Hammond, "Parking now." I almost walked out before the lunch. The banner on the porch. The cocktail napkin stuffed into Etta's drawer. Spencer's toast about this incredible gift from parents who owned nothing they were giving. Etta's pencil marks were folded tight in my back pocket, pressed against my leg through the denim. She showed me this lot when I was 14. She said, "Buy it when you can." I bought it with money I saved by eating lunch in a break room for 4 years. I was not leaving my own house because my family decided it belonged to someone else. The front door opened during the lunch. 40 guests seated at rented tables. Spencer and Audrey at the head table. Dale and Naomi beside them. Reggie 2 tables over. Audrey's parents across the room. Hammond walked in, gray suit, manila folder in his left hand, reading glasses hanging from a cord around his neck. He did not rush. He closed the door behind him and stood at the edge of the room until the conversations quieted on their own, 1 table at a time. The way sound dies in a room when someone stands where no one was expected. My name is Avery Hammond. I am a real estate and civil attorney representing the owner of this property. Spencer looked at Dale. Dale looked at Hammond. Audrey looked at Spencer. No one looked at me. Hammond opened the folder. He read the deed aloud, slow and clear. This property, located at 14 Surfside Lane, is titled solely to Lyle. Recorded with the county 4 years ago. No transfer has been filed. No quitclaim has been executed. No lien exists on this property except the original mortgage held by Lyle's lender. Any representation of ownership by another party is legally baseless. Spencer went pale. The color left his neck first, then climbed to his face like a tide pulling out of sand. He looked at Audrey, then at Dale. Neither looked back at him. Audrey's hand, holding a napkin, went still in her lap. This is the part of the story where everything the family built in 5 months came apart in under 5 minutes. If you are watching, make sure you are subscribed to Family Secret Tales so you do not miss what comes next. Hammond turned to a second page. I have printed communications from a family group chat recovered from a shared device left at this property. He read Dale's February message aloud. I will handle Lyle after the reception. He will not make a scene in front of family. He read Naomi's March message. Tell your mother Spencer owns the property. It is handled. He read Spencer's May message about sending $800 a month from saved rent. Dale's expression did not collapse all at once. It left in stages. The corners of his mouth went first, dropping like something had been holding them up and let go. Then his jaw loosened, not dramatically, just enough that he did not close it for 4 full seconds. His breathing shifted from his nose to his mouth, and the people sitting closest to him could hear it, a shallow pull of air that did not sound like confidence anymore. His right hand reached for Naomi's arm and missed, and landed on the seat of an empty chair beside her. Hammond addressed Audrey's father directly. Mr. Whitfield, your $12,000 contribution to this wedding was made based on a representation that your son-in-law owns this property. That representation is false. Spencer has no ownership interest, no deed, and no recorded right to this home. The contribution was obtained through misrepresentation. You may have grounds for a civil fraud claim. Audrey's father stood up slowly. He was a tall man, and when he straightened to his full height, the people at the surrounding tables leaned back without meaning to. He looked at Spencer. He looked at Dale. He said one word, 12? Audrey's mother covered her mouth with both hands. A groomsman at the end table quietly set his plate down and folded his arms. A woman near the kitchen door stood up and then sat back down like she did not know what to do with her body. Reggie stepped away from Dale, not far, 2 feet, but it was the kind of distance that meant something, the way a person steps back from a ledge. Is any of this true, Dale? Dale did not answer. I stood up. Etta's folded paper was still in my back pocket. 40 people were watching a man they had congratulated on his generosity discover that his generosity was a theft. I did not raise my voice because the room was already silent enough to hear the ocean through the screen door. I ate dinner alone every Sunday because for 6 years, nobody from this family called. Nobody drove out. Nobody asked what I was building or why. And now that it is built, you want to hand it to someone who never lifted a board, never replaced a water heater, never scraped barnacles off the porch steps in February. I turned to Dale. You took a $28,000 HELOC on your own house to pay for this wedding, and your plan to repay it was to install Spencer in my property rent-free so he could send you $800 a month. That is not a gift. That is a bailout using my deed as collateral without my knowledge or consent. You told Audrey's family that Spencer owns this house. Her father put in $12,000 based on that lie. That is fraud by misrepresentation. That is financial coercion. That is a lie told to in-laws to extract money under false pretenses. And you planned to make me sign it over after the toast because you believed I would not say no in front of 40 people. Spencer's hand, the one holding his glass of sweet tea, started trembling. He set it down too hard. The liquid splashed across the white tablecloth and spread toward Audrey's place, setting in a slow circle. He did not wipe it. Hammond has filed a formal fraud notification with the county recorder's office to prevent any unauthorized filings against this property. Audrey's father has the right to pursue a civil claim for the $12,000 obtained through misrepresentation. My attorney is preparing a formal cease and desist, naming every person who participated in this scheme. I looked at Dale. His fingers were curled around the edge of the table again, knuckles white, and this time they did not release. Grandma did not feel sorry for me. She showed me this lot when I was 14. She said, "Buy it when you can." I did. You never asked how. The room held. No one reached for a glass. No one coughed. A child at the far table asked a question and was shushed by a woman who had not taken her eyes off Dale. One of Spencer's groomsmen put his hands flat on the table the way people do when they are deciding whether to stand up or stay seated. He stayed seated. Audrey's mother had not moved her hands from her mouth. The caterer, standing near the kitchen pass-through, set down a tray of appetizers and did not pick it back up. This is the last time any of you walk through this door without my permission. The last holiday where I set up chairs and you set up schemes. The last time you treat something I built as something you can give away. The keys change tomorrow. The locks change tomorrow. The only name on this house, on this deed, and on that mailbox is mine. It has been mine for 4 years. It will stay mine. I walked to the porch. I sat down in Etta's chair, the wicker one with the flat cushions she bought at a yard sale this summer. She showed me the lot. The ocean was doing what the ocean does regardless of what happens inside a house. The tide was turning. Behind me, through the screen door, I could hear the sound of a room learning that everything it celebrated was built on a floor that belonged to someone else. The next morning, a locksmith arrived at 9. New deadbolt, new knob set, new keys in a manila envelope on the kitchen counter. The old keys were dead. Spencer's key, Dale's spare. The one Naomi kept on her ring with a grocery store loyalty card. All useless. I tested the new lock 3 times. Smooth turn every time. Clean click. Solid, mine. Audrey had posted 17 photos from the reception on Instagram before Hammond walked in. After the confrontation, she deleted 12 of them. The ones with the banner. The ones captioned our place. The ones where she stood on the porch I rebuilt with my own hands and smiled like it was hers. The remaining 5 were pictures of the cake. Day 3. Spencer and Audrey's honeymoon was cut short by a phone call from Audrey's father. He wanted to know how his daughter had spent 4 months telling him Spencer owned a beach house when the deed had never been in Spencer's name. He wanted to know where his $12,000 went. He wanted specifics, not stories. Audrey drove to her parents' house that afternoon. She said she was staying for a few days. Those days stretched past 2 weeks with no return date. Day 7. Spencer signed a lease on a studio apartment 45 minutes inland, 600 square feet, window facing a parking lot, $1,400 a month on a $36,000 salary. He had never paid rent before. He had lived with Dale and Naomi until the wedding because the plan was to move directly into the beach house. The plan was built on my deed, and the deed had my name on it, and now Spencer was learning what $1,400 a month feels like when you have never budgeted for it. The beach house he had toasted as this incredible gift was now a locked door with new hardware and no key that fit his hand. Day 8. Dale found me in the hardware store parking lot. He had driven 40 minutes to deliver a threat he should have kept to himself. He was standing between his truck and a shopping cart corral, hands in his jacket pockets, trying to look like a man with leverage when he had none left. "I will call the police and tell them you forged your grandmother's will. I will say you manipulated an old woman. If I forged it, why has my name been on the deed for 4 years? And why did your brother Reggie witness the signing?" Dale's mouth opened. Nothing came out. He shifted his weight from one foot to the other and for a moment he looked like a man standing on ground that had turned soft under him. "You are making a mistake, Lyle. This family will not forget what you did at that reception. What I did was show 40 people a deed with my name on it. What you did was lie to every one of them for 5 months. Tell me which one the family should not forget." He had nothing after that. He stood there with his hands in his pockets and the parking lot traffic moving behind him and no words arriving to save the bluff he had driven 40 minutes to deliver. I got in my truck. I pulled out of the parking space. I did not say goodbye because goodbye implies a future conversation, and there would not be one. Day 10. Reggie called Dale. I was not on the call, but Reggie told me about it the following week in his kitchen over coffee. He told me exactly what he said. "You told me Lyle agreed, Dale. You looked me in the eye at Christmas and said Lyle was happy to do it. I raised my glass to Spencer, based on your word. I told Elaine and the boys that our nephew had done something generous for his brother. Now I find out from an attorney, not from you, that the boy owns nothing and you plan to steal from your own son." Dale tried to explain. He used the words he always used when the math did not hold: family, sacrifice, responsibility, Spencer needing a start in life. Reggie had heard these words before, but this time they sounded different. This time they sounded like packaging around something empty. Reggie cut him off. "A start built on a lie to your other son is not a start, Dale. It is a theft with a toast." Reggie hung up. He told me later that he sat on his porch for 10 minutes after the call. Not angry, just recalibrating everything Dale had told him over the past year. Every family dinner, every phone call, every reassurance that Lyle is on board. All of it scaffolding around a lie. The August family reunion invitation arrived the following week. Dale and Naomi's names were not on it. Mine was. Handwritten note from Reggie's wife tucked inside the envelope. "We saved you a room." Day 14. Dale sat at his own kitchen table with a HELOC statement, a calculator, and a yellow legal pad. The $28,000 balance. $420 a month. Spencer was supposed to live at the beach house rent-free and send $800 a month to cover the HELOC in 20 months. Spencer was now paying $1,400 a month for a studio apartment 45 minutes from anything. Spencer was sending Dale nothing. The printing plant had announced reduced shifts the week before. Dale's take-home was dropping from $48,000 to roughly $41,000. The HELOC payment was now 12% of his reduced income. He wrote numbers on the yellow pad, crossed them out, wrote different numbers, crossed those out too. The math did not change because the math had never been the problem. The problem was that he built a repayment plan on a house he did not own, and the owner changed the locks. The yellow pad had 2 columns. One column was income. One column was bills. The income column had one number that kept shrinking. The bills column had 6 numbers that did not shrink at all. The HELOC, the mortgage on his own house, utilities, car payment, insurance, groceries. Nowhere on the pad was there a line for the $12,000 that Audrey's father was now asking questions about. That number existed in a different column, in a different kind of ledger, the kind that attorneys keep. Naomi stood in the kitchen doorway watching him work the calculator. She did not sit down. She did not suggest a solution. She had spent 5 months managing the family narrative, telling the cousins and the aunts and Audrey's parents the version of events that made Dale look generous and Spencer look deserving. The narrative had been recalled like a defective product, and the person who built it had no replacement in stock. Day 21. 11:40 p.m. Spencer's studio apartment. The ceiling fan wobbled on the 3rd speed. The parking lot light outside the window cast a yellow bar across the carpet that did not reach the bed. Audrey was still at her parents' house. Her father was consulting with a friend who practiced civil litigation about the $12,000 contribution and whether misrepresentation of asset ownership to induce a financial contribution constituted actionable fraud. Spencer did not know the details. He knew Audrey was gone, and the studio cost $1,400 a month, and his retail salary of $36,000 covered the rent and not much else. The studio had come furnished, A bed he did not choose, a dresser with a drawer that stuck, a nightstand with a ring stain from a previous tenant's coffee cup. None of it was his in the way the beach house was supposed to be his. None of it was anyone's. It was the kind of space that existed between one life and the next. And Spencer was in it because his father told him a house was handled, and he never asked what handled meant. He sat on the edge of the bed. He opened his phone. He typed, "Lyle, I should have asked you directly instead of," and deleted it. He typed, "I know this was Dad's idea, but I went along with it because," and deleted it. He typed, "The house was never," and deleted it. He set the phone face down on the nightstand. The ceiling fan clicked on each rotation, a small plastic sound, the only noise in a room built for someone passing through. He lay back and looked at the ceiling. He did not pick the phone up again. A month passed. The summer stayed. The beach house settled back into itself the way a room does after too many people leave it. I swept the sand from the porch boards. I oiled the screen door hinges. I put the coffee mug with the chipped handle back on the shelf where it belonged, next to the box of fishing lures I had pulled from that same trash bag in the garage. The chart is back in the kitchen drawer. I put it there myself, pressing the fold lines into the grooves they had worn into the wood over 4 years. Edda's red X marks are faded, but you can still read them if you hold the paper at the right angle to the morning light. Blues here June, bring sandwiches. Lyle, high tide 4 p.m. The cocktail napkins are gone. The banner is gone. The rented tables and the string lights and the seashell cake and the Bluetooth speaker are gone. Dale's world looks like this now. A HELOC payment circled on a wall calendar in red ink, reduced shifts at the printing plant, a phone that Reggie does not answer on Sundays, Naomi standing in doorways instead of sitting down, and a reunion invitation that did not arrive. He built a repayment plan on my property, and the plan expired when I changed the locks. Spencer's world looks like this. A studio apartment that costs $1,400 more per month than the beach house he was promised, a wife at her parents' house who has not given a return date, 3 unfinished texts to his brother sitting in his deleted drafts, no porch, no ocean, no banner, no toast, no property. The thing he threw in a trash bag is back in a drawer he will never open again. My world looks like this. The screen door propped open with a cinder block. The tide coming in, water over sand, the sound Edda said was the reason you buy near the ocean and not near a lake. One porch light on. My work boots by the front door, laces untied, because there is no rush. The house is quiet, not silent, not empty. Quiet in the way Edda meant when she pulled over on that shoulder 17 years ago and pointed through the passenger window and said, "This is the kind of place where you can hear yourself think." She was right. I can. I close the drawer gently. The paper settles into the grooves it has known for 4 years. The tide keeps coming. The porch light stays on. If this story stayed with you, subscribe to Family Secret Tales so you do not miss the next one. The house is mine. It always was.